You said that you're going to be training with Canelo as well in a couple weeks.
Yeah, actually in 2 weeks we're gonna go to Canelo's camp, finish off my camp there, and get the title eliminator fight, and I'm gonna win that fight because I've been working for this since I was 3 years old. So, you don't get too much opportunities like this in life. So I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna get that knockout.
You haven't trained with Canelo before, so it's going to be your first time. What do you expect?
I expect, I like Canelo a lot. I know he's a great champion, so I expect to go in there and, just exactly pick up right where I left off with Golovkin. So it's gonna be a great training camp as well.
That was David Benavidez back in 2017. He went to Canelo camp in order to finish his own camp for his upcoming fight for the title eliminator, which this explains why Canelo Alvarez has been avoiding the David Benavidez fight for years against the Mexican monster of his own country. At this point, we all know Canelo is not the best fighter in the world. He's not even top 10 pound for pound. Canelo is not even the best fighter in his own division. For years, Benavidez and Morrell were the best fighters. And Canelo definitely is not the best fighter from Mexico. That's Benavidez and Bam Bam Rodriguez. So whether you want to put Canelo Alvarez in the same realm as YouTube fighters, he's definitely pound for pound number one when it comes to the YouTube fighters. When you're comparing him against the likes of Jake Paul, KSI, or Conor McGregor, the fighters he actually calling out to fight next. If you don't know, Canelo Alvarez recently called out Conor McGregor to fight next in 2025 in order to determine which is the better sport, MMA or boxing. He also called out Jake Paul to fight. It didn't stop there. Canelo also called out Floyd Mayweather for a rematch, who is 50 years old and 3 divisions smaller than him. This is not a surprise at all since Canelo Alvarez lost to Bivol in a cherry pick that went wrong. Canelo Alvarez's fight since then, since 2022, has been nothing but exhibitions. The irony of it all, Canelo says he believes in his own mind and his own mind only that he's the best fighter in the world, that no one can beat him, even though Bivol just beat him. Canelo didn't just stop there. Canelo also said, I'm at the peak of my prime. So Canelo at the peak of his prime is doing exhibitions and calling out YouTubers and MMA fighters. That's what Canelo doing at the peak of his prime instead of fighting the best competition, the likes of David Benavidez, David Morrell, Bivol rematch, or Benavidez. At the very least, Crawford. You see, Canelo didn't just stop fighting the best after he lost to Bivol. Absolutely not. That was a cherry pick gone wrong. He had no clue Bivol was that nice. The only reason Canelo ended up fighting Bivol to begin with is because of Benavidez. At that time, Canelo had to pick his poison, which is on PBC. They gave him a deal that included Benavidez for $100 million guaranteed for 2 fights plus pay-per-view. On the other hand, DAZN offered him around $80 million for 2 fights without pay-per-view that included Bivol. So Canelo thought that was the easier option, and he went that route. So Benavidez is the reason why Canelo lost to Bivol. Canelo would have had never fought Bivol if it wasn't for Benavidez on PBC. So when you look at Canelo Alvarez's career, he has been avoiding the best competition all the way from 154 to 175 his whole entire career. At 154, there's no secret, he avoided the undefeated Charlo brothers and Andre when they were all undefeated. At 160, he avoided Charlo, the big Charlo, and Andre for undisputed. At 168, there's no secret, he avoided Morrell and Benavidez. At 175, he avoided Bivol and Benavidez, which is why he cherry-picked the washed-up Kovalev until he had to pick his poison and was forced to fight Bivol. Like I pointed out earlier, the legendary ducktail of Canelo Alvarez's career began at 154, but the highlight of it ended up being at 168 when he first laid his eyes on David Benavidez back in 2017 when Benavidez went to his camp. That's when he saw the Mexican monster up close and personal and decided to lay out his ducktail for 168 in order to unify and duck the best competition in the division by freezing them out and keeping the belts hostage the way he is doing today. Now, back in 2017, that's when Canelo moved up to 168 in order to test out the new division. He fought Rocky Fielding. From that point forward, Canelo Alvarez was offered the David Benavidez fight 3 times. He turned it down to fight for the WBC title. It wasn't until 2019 or 2020 when Canelo officially moved up to 168 and stayed there for good. He wasn't moving back down. Canelo only decided to make that decision only once Benavidez was stripped of his WBC title because he missed weight due to the COVID protocols. No difference than when David Morrell missed weight. However, the WBC did not give Benavidez the benefit of the doubt like the WBA did to David Morrell. Either way, Canelo, the moment Benavidez lost the WBC title on the scale, due to the COVID protocols again, that's when all of a sudden Canelo petitioned to the WBC to fight Avni Yildirim for the vacant WBC title, who was coming off a loss. But Canelo didn't care about that. He saw a cherry pick, and we know who is the king of that. So from that point forward, 2020, till this day, which that's a half a decade, by the way, Canelo has been ducking David Benavidez, the Mexican monster. During that time, Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather, Chavez Sr., Morales, Barrera, Marquez, Hopkins, Oscar De La Hoya, and all of the legendary fighters you could think about, they all told Canelo, you ducking Benavidez, stop being afraid and fight Benavidez. Even with all that pressure, Canelo still said no to his biggest payday of $100 million to fight Benavidez, plus pay-per-view. Recently, David Benavidez revealed the last offer, and it was Canelo getting more than $100 million after the pay-per-view to fight him, and Canelo still turned down the fight, asking for $200 million. I don't know why Canelo stopped there. He should have had asked for $1 billion. I mean, if you're going to ask for anything unrealistic like $200 million, might as well ask for $1 billion and set the record there. So no one can beat that record, that duck record, even 1,000 years from now due to inflation. Now, I'm laying out the facts on the table so you guys can realize Canelo has been ducking Benavidez for over a half a decade. You see, this didn't start yesterday. The only fight that can fix Canelo Alvarez's legacy that's full of ducking, cherry picking, losing, and steroids, the only fight that was going to save face for his legacy, he still chose to duck it. Now, you may wonder why. Why wouldn't Canelo grab the payday of his career? After all, Canelo will make more money in this fight than any other fight that he did previously. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Benavidez, he's actually making more money against David Morrell than he would have had made against Canelo because all of his money went toward Canelo. Benavidez wanted this fight so bad that he decided to take a pay cut and gave Canelo his percentages. Canelo was getting 100% of the pay-per-view revenue and more than 95% of the guaranteed money to fight Benavidez, and he still turned it down. The reason why Canelo did that is because he knows if he fight Benavidez, he will never be the same. Canelo already lost, not just once, but twice, plus all of the robberies he has on his record. That should be losses. So the problem is not in just losing, but the problem is more so on how Canelo is going to lose. He's going to take the biggest punishment of his career against Benavidez. The moment he saw Benavidez, he knew this man has power, he has speed, he has size, he can go to the body, he has a lot of stamina. And that's not going to end too well for Canelo because Benavidez also has skill. He has a great jab. These are the things Canelo struggles with. A good jab always gives Canelo a hard time. Canelo always gasses out in the later rounds. Canelo has slow feet, so he can't run from Benavidez. On top of all of that, Canelo is not going to be the only one in the ring with power, since Benavidez has power as well. So when Canelo factored all of that in, he saw an ending career top of knockout. That's what he saw, and he felt that no money is enough for him to fight Benavidez due to the punishment he's going to receive. Basically, Canelo has no confidence in himself. He knows he's not the better man, and no money is enough for him to get his ass whooped like that and get knocked out by Benavidez in an ending career type of fashion. Which is why Canelo came out and said, I don't fight Mexicans, even though he already fought Mexicans. And ironically, he ended up fighting Mexicans after he said that, which is Munguia, the man Canelo couldn't knock out, even though a guy with 4 KOs after that knocked out Munguia in a devastating fashion. Munguia couldn't get up. He had to go to the hospital. A guy with 4 KOs did something Canelo couldn't do. You see, when Canelo said, I don't want to fight any Mexicans because that's my people, he was not talking about Munguia. He was only talking about Benavidez. Canelo already knew that if he's going to say, I don't want to fight any Mexicans, he's going to straight up contradict himself. And if you know that you are contradicting yourself, then that's hypocrisy. So he knew that he was going to be a hypocrite, but he didn't care. Canelo already knows he's a duck. He just want to keep ducking. He want to keep living like a duck without being called a duck. His motto should be, no ducking, no life. I mean, if Canelo cared about being a hypocrite, he wouldn't have fought Munguia to begin with. But Canelo simply doesn't care. All he wants to do is keep cherry picking and ducking like he has been doing from the beginning of his career. With the opinions out of the door and the facts laid out on the table, go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe below, and to be continued on the next episode of Akhi TV. Peace out. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.